What's up, guys? Welcome back to Smoke Trim and Barbecue, and I'm Mike Conway, and today we're keeping it simple. I'm going to show you how I trim a brisket for backyard style smoking. No competition cuts, no fancy knife work, just clean, effective trim that gets great results every time. This is the kind of trim that'll give you great airflow, even cooking, and that perfect bark that everybody's after without wasting a bunch of meat. If you're cooking for friends, family, or your next backyard feast, this is all you need to get the job done. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so there's a lot of different methods on trimming a brisket, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do a basic backyard trim. Our overall goal is to make sure nothing burns up. We don't have any loose edges, loose pieces, and that it's somewhat aerodynamic that allows the smoke to roll smoothly over this brisket. So take a quick little peek at this, see what we're working with. This brisket is still slightly frozen because I do believe it's actually a lot easier to trim a brisket when it is extremely cold or even just slightly frozen. You can throw it back in your freezer for 45 minutes to an hour just to firm everything up, and that just makes it a little bit easier to work with. This one I left it a little bit longer, so it's a little bit harder than I probably would have liked, but still good enough for us to work with. So first thing we're going to do is get this piece of decal fat removed right out of there. I do like to do a little bit of an aggressive trim personally. Again, I'm going for as much usable meat that every bite is a great bite. So we'll come through over here. You can see we got a lot of fat right here. I'm going to cut this side. It'll open that up and let me see exactly what we're working with. Get rid of some of this oxidized fat on the edges as well. All of these scraps, the fat will be rendered down for tallow and the meat will be grinded up for other uses. But now you can see there, we can see how thick this fat cap is now that we just made a clean cut right there. On the the meat side, I do not get overly aggressive with taking off a ton of silver skin. I know some people will tell you get all that silver skin off. We're talking 10, 12, sometimes 14, 16-hour brisket cooks. You're not going to tell a difference. So we cut this edge here to let us see what we're working with. We do the same thing over here. Also, make sure you're working with a sharp knife. I personally like to use a brisket slicer. I think that it's actually the best way. You get clean, smooth cuts when you're trimming. Just makes it a whole lot easier. That shape of the flat there is starting to form up and look good. Take a little bit of this off. We want this to sit a little bit more flat. So in order to do that, we got to do a little bit of work on this mohawk right here. take that down. Everybody will tell you to take this fat cap down 1/4 of an inch. That seems to be the universal number that everybody uses. I just take it down to where I think it looks good. Sometimes a little bit thinner, sometimes a little bit thicker. I'm not as worried about the thickness of the fat cap up here. I'm really not even worried if there's any fat up here at all, because this is the point and there's a lot of intermuscular fat already in there that's going to keep it nice and juicy throughout the cook. So I want to make sure that we keep this from here over definitely a decent amount of fat to protect that lean during the cook. And remember, you can always take off more, so go little by little. Can't add it back on, but you can always remove more. Also, don't put too much thought into this either. This came from the butcher this way, where it's a little bit scalped. Not a big deal. Like I said, this is the point side. This is not going to make a big difference at all. You can see right here where just a little bit of that meat is showing. So I know I'm real thin there. I don't want to take that down anymore. The fat right there is very thick, and we can see that it comes in right here as well. Kind of connects up to that mohawk. It's all fat. Same thing we did on the other side. We're going to trim this edge. Helps with our shape. Cleans it up and lets us see just how fat that fat cap is on this side. You can see right there. Got quite the fat cap right there, so we can take this down more. Little by little, just keep working at it. Just keep doing it until you're happy with it. And at the end of the day, this is your brisket. Don't let anybody else tell you how to do it. I'm just giving you guys some direction, showing you what I do, how I trim a brisket. Works well for me. Helps make sure my cooks turn out even. Cooks even. Helps to avoid pooling while the brisket's cooking. Looking better. You can see on this brisket there's a bit of a gouge right here where the meat's exposed. Not a whole lot we can do with that. Sometimes they just come that way from the butcher. All we can kind of do is try to flatten this out a little bit more. Again, this is a point side, so exposing a little bit of that point meat, not a big deal for me. Not worried about it. Really should never cut towards you. Sometimes it's just the only way to really get it done. So you really want to avoid hard, sharp edges because it can burn up and probably will over a long cook. So some of these are a little bit harder. You can just work them down a little bit. So the edges aren't quite as sharp, quite as straight. All right. Now I would say that is looking pretty good. The meat side looks pretty well trimmed, and the fat side, which for us is going to be our presentation side, looks pretty good as well. As good as it can considering it came from the butcher. A little messed up right here. That's okay. We are not going to be worried about it. This brisket's still going to turn out awesome. We're going to call that good. Alright guys, and there it is. A simple, effective backyard trim that'll set you up for a great cook. You don't need to overthink it. Just clean up those edges, manage that fat cap, and make sure that the smoke can flow evenly. And remember, it's not just about making a pretty brisket. It's about making it cook right. So fire up your pit, season it exactly how you like it, and let the smoke do the rest. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, drop a comment, make sure that you subscribe, and we've got a lot more barbecue coming your way right here on Smoke Sherman Barbecue. Thanks again, guys. Bye.